Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So I wanted to briefly, and I mean briefly, it should be a relatively short video, talk about the things I bought at Yarndale because I still haven't filmed this video. It's ridiculous. It's already almost middle of December, and I bought the stuff at the end of September. It's ridiculous. But I just still wanted to share what I did buy because I went to Yarndale with very specific intentions of what I was going to come home with, and I told myself it wasn't allowed to be too much. So the thing I had one skein of yarn that I knew I had to pick up, two skeins of yarn that I knew I had to pick up at Yarndale, and then the rest was kind of more, I wanted to focus on purchasing skeins of kind of interesting sock yarn, whether that be the colours or the actual yarn base itself. And that's what I did. So I didn't buy too much. That being said, I know that me saying, oh, I didn't buy that much, it could be that what I'm about to show off is actually quite a lot for people, and other people might be shocked that I didn't buy more. For me, this was me being very controlled. There was a lot more I wanted, but I kind of just wanted that Yarndale to be more about spending time with my friends, talking to customers and things like that. And that kind of made it easier that it was so busy that I couldn't go yarn shopping all that much. That helped. So let's start with the first skein of yarn that I knew I had to pick up when I got to Yarndale. So it's this skein from the Corner of Craft. The colour's called Hamster Unicorns on her sturdy sock base, which is blue, faced Leicester and nylon. I don't think I'm going to use this for socks though. I was thinking about actually doing some colour work and putting this into the yoke. I am not a pink person. I rarely buy pink yarn. I don't really wear pink ever in my life. But this yarn I've seen so many times on Hannah's Instagram, and I was just like, I think I'm just going to do it. I love it because, yes, it's pink, but look at all the crazy other colours that are in there. And I thought it would look really cool in a colourwork jumper where you're not trying to create anything that should be super identifiable. You're not doing a cat or a tree or something. It's more just some kind of a design and a motif. I think this could look really cool, especially because I'm thinking about knitting it up with a very dark main colour, maybe even black. So this really pops. So I knew I needed to pick up one skein of that, which I did. Didn't get more. And the other skein of yarn was from Jess, Skein in the Stitch, Safer Pastures. She released the colorway picture, I think it was end of August, early September or something. And it was a pre-order, but she also said that she was bringing a few skeins of this colorway to Yarndale. And I immediately knew I need one of these. And she had this special offer at Yarndale where you could get a skein of sock yarn. So this is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And you could get it for a special price with a mini skein, and that's what I did. So you got to put together your own little sock kit, which I thought was really nice. And I settled on this very dark green. Of course I did, I love green. And the funny story is, I think I put this combo aside on Saturday at some point. And I remember on Sunday, a sort of older couple came through and the wife talked to me and was like, I want to make my husband a pair of socks. What would you recommend? And we kind of looked at all the sock skeins, the big ones first, and he really liked Safer Pastures. And then I said, if you want to go for a contrasting heel, toe, cuff, that kind of thing, which means this yarn goes even further, so she could potentially get some shorties out herself. I said you can pick a mini skein and then it's not as much as if you'd bought them separately. And so they were looking through the little basket Jess had of the mini skeins, and he kept coming back to this dark green. And he was like, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? And he asked me, like, what do you think of the colour? And I was like, well, I love it because I've already put this combo aside for myself. So this set, and once I make the socks, is always going to remind me of Yarndale and of that couple and the fact that I'm going to have matching socks with them. And I really love that. This is part of the reason why I love knitting. Like, you can put like memories into it. The next thing I got was a skein of Ducky Darlings. Had to be. This colour is Sparks Fly. This is Superwash Merino Nylon 75/25. So you can see this sort of like beigey sort of colour with these beautiful speckles. Love this colour. And I might make socks with it. I might also decide to use it for colour work or something instead. All I knew was, before I left Yarndale, I knew I had to get a skein of some kind of yarn from Hayley, who's the dye behind Ducky Darlings, because she's the first person I ever bought hand-dyed yarn from, and I love her colours. I have so many of her different colourways. And while I don't buy as much anymore, because I ended up buying a lot from Georgie, because I'd bought a lot from Hayley, then I moved to buying a lot from Georgie, and now kind of neither, because now I'm in Germany and buying different things. But I still absolutely adore pretty much everything that Hayley dyes up, and I just knew I needed something. So we'll see what this becomes. It might be socks, because I've also made quite a few socks out of Hayley's hand-dyed yarn as well. Then I picked up a skein of this year's Christmas colourway by West Yorkshire Spinners. This is a gingerbread. So every year they have... Normally I think they actually have like more than one colour, but I think this year it's only the gingerbread. And it has 35% Blueface Leicester, so it also has 25% nylon. But the Blueface Leicester makes these even sturdier. And then the rest of it is wool. Don't know what kind. But I really like Blueface Leicester, so this is really good sock yarn. I've used it before, and I won't be knitting these up for Christmas this year. So I think what I'm going to do is knit them up at some point next year, and then probably start wearing them for Christmas next year. So I got I bought 2 skeins of this because I got my mum a skein of it as well. But she knows she's getting it, so I'm not ruining the surprise. Well, it's not a surprise. That's why I'm not ruining it. So I got that. And then the last kind of traditional sock yarn is a skein of yarn from the Yarn Badger. So if you remember the socks that I made, the self-striping ones with the winter rainbow yarn, same dyer, but this self-striping yarn is called Rainbow Cake. I just fell in love. I'm normally not a big pastel person either, but it's just so delicate and beautiful. And I got a undyed mini skein to go with it, because all the other colours that were there just didn't match the way I wanted it to match because of these kind of more muted pastel colours, and I thought this was going to be the best. And I love self-striping yarn. I know it's time consuming to dye, but it's so worth it. I'll pay more for it. I don't care. It's beautiful. And then the last 2 skeins, I don't exactly know the blend of these. So I'll like insert here the like place I got it from, because I can't remember what they're called. And I got these 2 skeins. Now I know one of them's DK, and the other one I believe is fingering weight, maybe sport. I think it might be like a 350 meter one. And I think this is the like fingering weight one. I think it's 100% Corriedale. Could be wrong. This I know has alpaca in it because it has a bit of a halo and it's fluffy. And it does appear to be thicker. So I think this is the DK. And I think it's alpaca and Corriedale. I could be wrong. But it doesn't have any... So the yarn doesn't have any labels on it. It didn't when I bought it. And I told myself, oh yeah, of course I'll remember. I didn't remember. But I don't really mind because I am going to use these for socks, even though it doesn't have nylon. Corriedale is a really good sock yarn. And what I'm going to do is just pick the needle size I think is going to go well with it, knit a little bit. If it doesn't look good, change up the needle size and it won't be a problem. So it'll just be some probably vanilla socks, I think, because I just want the yarn to shine through, and oh, it's so beautiful. And then the last things I bought aren't yarn related, but there's a knitting podcast that I really love called Katie Greenbean, and she does knitting, but she also does a lot of sewing, and she's an artist, so she often also shows her kind of process of drawing and painting things. And she recently moved to Wales, so it's just been beautiful in her podcast seeing all of that. And she was at Yarndale, so when I saw that, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to stop off and buy some things from her, which I did. So she does her own knitting patterns, and one of the ones I bought is Fairy Ring. It's a steeked colourwork cardigan, and she does all of this is her painting, like her design, not just the knitting pattern, but she also designed this whole thing. And then on the other side you can see this. So this is the children's sizes, and then this is the adult sizes. And so you can also see, like, she also did this. So beautiful. But to give you an idea of what the cardigan looks like, so you can see it's got these really cute mushrooms. Really adorable. So it's the cardigan that the squirrel's wearing. And you can just buy the digital copy of this, but it's like a piece of art. I was like, I need this, like, I need the physical copy. And you can buy from her from Etsy, but with Etsy is at least better than getting things just sent to Germany from the UK when it comes to paying like custom fees and stuff. But she was there. I was like, I might as well buy it when I'm there, because then I don't have to pay custom fees. So this is the other pattern of hers that I got. It's called Scruffed. So you can see that there's little dogs on the pockets. And it includes an updated version with cats, rabbits, and guinea pigs too. And I used to have a rabbit. So you can see more dogs back here. So cute. And I think it's also steeked. I think. Or is this one mosaic knitting? I can't remember, but either way, it's adorable. And then the last thing I got is this little crafter's like notebook. Yarn crafter's notebook. So once again, she drew all of this and designed this. And it's just a cute little notebook to keep any sort of notes in that you want. Needle size conversion. Crochet terminology, US, UK. I always forget. And how to do Kitchener stitch. And the cute little socks. So I haven't started using this because I currently have a notebook that I'm using, but probably next year I'll start getting some use out of that. So that's everything I bought at Yarndale. And then the only other thing that I want to share is a bag of yarn. Yarn I didn't buy, and I wasn't technically speaking given it for, you know, like this isn't going to be mine. But this is all the yarn I'm going to be knitting up within the next year. And it's going to be sample pieces for a variety of different dyes. So I'm just going to go through this giant bag. First of all, we've got a yarn from Skein in the Stitch, which you might recognise if you watch my podcast. This is Safer Pastures on 100% Merino DK. This is Bone on Surrey Alpaca and Silk. And I'm holding these two together to knit the Felix cardigan, which I've already started. This is just the remaining yarn that I have. And originally the plan was just to use the DK. The swatch wasn't good. So I messaged Jess and said, like, look, I think we're going to have to put a Surrey Alpaca with it. And since I didn't do the swatch until I was in Germany, and this is yarn I had bought from her Buffy collection pre-order, which I picked up at Yarndale. I then said, like, this is probably the only colour I have that would also go with it. And I think it's turning out beautifully. So you'll see more of that in the podcast. But you can also go back and watch the previous episode where I showed it off as well. And So that will be the Felix cardigan, which I've already started. And that was also the first one I'd agreed to do, which is why I also wanted to get it started first and get through it first. The other one for Jess that I'm going to do, using these two skeins, well, two colours, I've got more than these two skeins. This is Angelus on her Surrey Alpaca and Silk, and this is Blood Right. This is Merino 4-ply, 100% superwash merino. This is coming up much more red than it really is. It's a much more, well, it is red, but it's a bit deeper and more kind of, it's got a lot more of this purple tone in it as well. And I think they're going to look amazing. And these are going to become the April cardigan by Petite Knit. So 2 sample pieces for Jess, because Jess really wanted some cardigans as sample pieces, and with like dyeing as her full-time job, but then also raising a young family and things like that, Jess just doesn't get a lot of time to knit. And so I said to her, I was like, look, Jess, why don't you just let me knit them? So originally she was like, yeah, if you could just, do the Felix cardigan, that would be great. And I was like, why don't you just give me another project to do? If I don't get it done by March for East Anglia Yarn Festival, I can always send it to you later, but at least I've got the yarn and I can hopefully try and get it done for them. So she let me, and I'm really glad she did. Then for Georgie, I'm going to be knitting the Throw Over by Andrea Mowry. This will be my main colour. This is Shipwreck. And I've knitted with this particular colour before. Back in 2020, I think it was, I knit a pair of socks for a friend of mine. And it's her Merino DK, 100% superwash merino. And you can see it's kind of deep blue, but it's also a bit teal leaning. So it's got a bit of kind of a green tinge to it. So that will be the main colour. And then I've got 3 contrast colours. The first is Briar Rose. This is the kind of pink where I'm like, I'll do this pink, because it's a very red, brown pink. Then I've got Poison. So this is actually the same colour as what I'm using for my Hibernation House socks. And then this one is Lichen. So I still need to have a look at the pattern and figure out which order they're going to go in. And I might even do a couple of different swatches, send pictures to Georgie and be like, what do you prefer? What would you like? Because obviously it's a sample piece for her. I'm not just going to be like, well, Georgie, I liked it, so deal with it. Then for Laura of The Lonely Knitter, can we just take a second to appreciate her logo? Because it's beautiful. It's just ultimate coziness. I love it. So this skein is called the Upside Down. So it's from a Stranger Things collection. It's 100% superwash merino. It's a fingering weight singles yarn. And it's 400 meters per 100 grams. So I've only got one skein, because Laura really wanted a sample of a 1 skein shawl. And I'm going to be doing the Storm Shawl by Joji Locatelli, which only uses a single skein. And I think it's going to look amazing. So this is one of the things I really love about Laura. Not only does she dye really nice yarn, she's also very focused on trying to be as budget friendly as she can be as a hand dyer. So the reason she wanted to offer a sample piece that people could look at with just a single skein is because hand dye yarn isn't cheap. And so by having, if you fall in love with that single skein and you're like, oh great, but then I can't do anything with it, or you don't want to do socks, then you've got the option to knit a shawl like that. And the singles yarn is so soft and plumpy. I'm normally not a singles fan, but that is really nice. So I'll be knitting that up, and I'm thinking about actually taking that skein of yarn with me to Dubai. And I was thinking, should I cake it up, take it on the plane, get some of it knit on the plane? But I'm a bit worried that it will be a bit too complicated and my brain will just go bleh on the plane, because I'll just be tired, even though it's a relatively normal and okay flight. So I might just take it, and I'm hoping to be able to get it done before I'm back in Germany in January, because I'll only be able to knit on the things that I bring with me. So if I bring not too many projects, then I can't get distracted and I can finish some things. So we'll see, but that's currently the plan. And then the last project is also for Laura. And I'm going to be knitting up the Dancing Nancy's jumper for her. So it's a colourwork jumper. And these are the two colours that I'm going to be using. Aren't they stunning? Also, you ready? Look at that pop right there. So beautiful. So this colour here is called Winifred Sanderson. And this one is called Book. So they're both from her newer Hocus Pocus collection. And they're just normal merino nylon 75-25 fingering weight. And I've got 3 of each to be able to knit them up. And I think it's just going to look really beautiful to have this like variegated skein. And then this kind of more tonal skein. I love this colour so much. It's like a beigey, pinky, browny, grey colour. It's amazing. So that's my plan of sample knits that I have to do. So ideally I'd like to try and get them done for East Anglia Yarn Festival if I can make it. Otherwise I'll just have to send them. But it's a lot of knitting ahead of me. But I knew what I signed up for, and all of the hand dyers were more than happy to be all like, look, don't stress yourself out. You know, as long as they get done at some point, that's fine. But like I said, Felix cardigan I'm already working on because that's the first one I kind of promised out of all of these. Then I'm going to be doing the Storm Shawl with this one. Hopefully get that done before I'm back in January. And then once that one's done and the Felix is done, I'll probably start working on the throwover. It shouldn't be too hard, even though it's pretty much all over colour work, or a lot of colour work, I should say. It is DK weight, so it won't take like too long. And then I'll have one for Jess, one for Laura, one for Georgie done. And then I'll go back, do Jess's other sample of the April cardigan, and then start working on Laura's Dancing Nancy's, which will probably take me the longest, but in some ways the order might change depending on what I currently feel like knitting, but that's sort of how I've thought about it in my head, to make sure that I get one piece done for everyone before I start working on the second piece for people. So yeah, so that yarn also came home with me. You can see how my suitcase was quite heavy, and I'm just really excited to knit all of this. I really enjoy knitting for other people, and especially when I get to help out my friends with their business, because I don't know, it's just, like I said, I like knitting for other people. I like the fact that I get to have all this beautiful yarn. I didn't have to pay anything for it. I get all the fun of knitting these things. And then I don't have to think about how am I going to store it? When am I going to wear it? There's no guilt involved. I just get all the good stuff. It's like being an aunt. You get all the good stuff of having a kid without having to deal with some of the bad stuff that happens. And the responsibility, like a load of responsibility. So I'm excited to start working on these. Obviously, I'm already working on one of them. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm almost done with my gift knitting. And the number of projects I have to focus on before kind of Christmas and the end of the year is decreasing. So the Storm Shawl I should be starting this year. The rest will probably be January time. But, you know, try and get them done. Because I like finishing things for people. Even though everyone said, don't stress yourself out, Nina. I'm like, I'm not stressed. I'm excited. So I just wanted to share those, to give you an idea of what you're going to be seeing over the next few months, as these will all make an appearance very soon. And then also just my kind of excitement with the sock yarn I bought at Yarndale. So yeah, it was a success. So thank you for watching. I hope it's been interesting to see what I brought back and to see kind of the sample pieces I'm going to be working on. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye!